So I'm gonna basically talk about ghost hunting, kind of how I was introduced to it. And we actually at Paranormal Inc. we have an acronym. We use DICE, D-I-C-E, DICE, and it's basically we detect, interact, capture, and then try to escalate it so that the activity gets bigger and bigger, so that eventually something really dramatic happens, and we're able to get that on audio or video or through photographs or however we're able to capture that. So as we kind of go through the sort of our DICE procedure, I'm going to just play you clips from the movie and things where we're actually doing those things. So that said, talk about detect. I have notes here. I'm going to have to cheat. I know it's not very cinematic, Tom, but I'm going to probably have to cheat a lot here. So your first goal, I guess, when you get to a haunted location is to actually sort of detect what's going on. And of course, I'm bypassing, you know, the idea that, of course, I'm assuming that you've researched the place and that you have an idea of the history and what people have said occurred there. So you kind of go armed with that information, as well as your own senses, because it's not about gear all the time. It's also about going to a place and just sitting quietly and performing a vigil and just listening to what's going on around you and just sort of getting a feel for a place. People a lot of times overlook that and run straight for the gadgets, and that's to their detriment, because a lot of times you could just figure out a few hot spots for yourself if you actually just sat and listened for a little bit. But when you want to detect and you're going to go with the gear, that's when you're going to be getting into your EMF detectors, your temperature gauges, and things like different devices like Paranormal Puck that's made by Digital Dowsing, which can actually pick up changes in static electricity and things like that. So basically you're trying to detect changes in the environment that might indicate that something paranormal is going on. Does that make sense? Okay, cool. I'm going to actually kind of show you a few EMF detectors. These are 3 of them that you may have seen in different ghost shows and things like this. The first one is probably the oldest. It's one of the old analog Gauss meters. And basically you squeeze it, you turn it on, and you can run in milligauss just like the rest of them. But what's neat about the Gauss meter is that if you hold the button in, it goes to micro, so it can pick up 0.1 milligauss, 0.2 milligauss. So if you're in a place that has absolutely no power, that's the only place that this is going to work, because you just heard just now, listen to that. And that's mostly because of the television that's behind me. So, but if you're in a place that has no power at all, say it's ruins, so there should be no natural EMFs in the air, the micro Gauss comes in sort of handy. Now what I'm going to kind of sort of tease you guys too, you're actually sitting, whether you know the stories or not, you're sitting in sort of a haunted place right now. There are actually stories about this very room and some of the previous residents of this house. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of put these EMF detectors out here, and you guys can kind of help keep post here, and if anything starts to happen, kind of raise your hand and let me know that the EMF detector is going off. So, who wants the Gauss? Want the Gauss? Okay. The second style is actually called a self-sensor, and a lot of times you see this, like this one says ghost meter. These were actually built to sort of detect if cell phones were bad, if they're leaking a lot of electromagnetic energy. So you have a bad cell phone, they think it causes brain cancer and things like that. So that's what it was invented for, but paranormal investigators use them quite a bit. What's neat about this one is, once you turn it on, it will actually beep and light up. So if something significant comes towards you, it will start to beep and sort of light up, so it sort of serves as an alarm of sorts. So, also you want to make sure that anytime you use any EMF detector that you turn your cell phones off, because like I said, this was made for detecting bad cell phones. So even when your phone's not ringing, when it's looking for a signal, just that act alone will actually set off the EMF detector. So I'm going to go ahead and let you guys have this one. You'll know something's coming because it'll light up and blink on you. Alright, and this one's probably the most well-known thanks to taps and ghost hunters. It's called the K2 meter. And it basically electronically works very similar to the cell sensor. In fact, tests that we've done with them side by side, they've reacted almost exactly the same. They've lit up about the same. The only thing that's kind of fidgety about the K2 is the sticker that they use to sort of serve as the graph of how much energy is going on is not very accurate. So A lot of people just like to use them because of the pretty lights. If they light up, something's there, and you know, sometimes that something is just bad wires. But we'll go ahead and put the K2 back here. Turn it on for you. There you go. And you see already it's got 1 green is normal, even 2 can just indicate wiring is around you. Okay. And other devices, like I say, we use are the, you've probably seen the temperature gauge before that we use. If you're going to get into ghost hunting and use the temperature gauges, the only thing that you really want to keep in mind is that you want to make sure it can measure ambient temperature, because a lot of them just have a laser on them, and they'll measure where you point the laser, but they won't necessarily measure the air that's directly around the device. So you just want to make sure it has an ambient switch, so you can actually, because typically you'll fill a cold spot and you want to stick it right there in it, not shoot a laser at it across the room like Star Wars. So just want to make sure that.